Our subject today is strange archaeology, the evidence for fairies, giants, pixies, dragons, centaurs, and aliens. Now that sounds quite astonishing. And for the grounded person out there, they might be saying, this is just fantasy. But in fact, as we're going to see from the evidence, it actually really isn't fantasy. And many of the things that we think of as mythology and legend have a basis in fact. And we're going to take a look at what that is. In truth, there are many, many different kinds of, let us say, humanoids or extraterrestrials that are visiting our planet. And some of them come in from the third dimension, just like we're third dimensional. Some of them seem to come in from the fourth dimension, which is vibrating at a higher atomic or molecular level. And some of them seem to come in even from an even higher dimension, like the masters in the fifth dimension. The angels tend to come in from the fifth or sixth or even seventh dimension, although they may be on assignment here. Many of these beings are human or humanoid in appearance. They will take what we generally come to think of as 2 arms, 2 legs, a torso, and a head. Some of them come from other planets, from other solar systems. Some of them come from Earth. They're indigenous to the Earth, and many times we don't really know this. Many of these beings that we're talking about, like the pixies and so forth, they didn't come in spaceships. They were indigenous to this land, and of course humans have become such a dominant species, we've sort of wiped out most of these races. Some come from outside of our solar system, like the Pleiades or the Sirius system or the Andromedan system or the Orion system. There are certainly living sentient beings in the third and fourth and fifth dimension on all of these planetary systems. Aldebaran's another one. Cassiopeia is another one. Draco is another one. In fact, there are 12 extraterrestrial races that seeded the planet Earth according to the Native American twisted hair. The Andromedans say that there have actually been some 22. And so that's a whole nother conversation, and maybe at some point I'll wind up doing a presentation and even a book on that fascinating subject. But other beings that have come to this solar system actually, to our planet, actually originated in our solar system. And this is, of course, the work of Ascension, who many of you may be familiar with. Sitchin was a Hebrew scholar who lived in New York City, who was one of about 10,000 people in the world that could translate Sumerian cuneiform text. And he translated them in modern times. Many of these were discovered in the city of Nineveh in the 1830s. There was an English explorer named Lord Laird, and he wound up actually discovering the city of Nineveh, and they found, thousands of Sumerian cuneiform text or clay tablets that have been preserved through thousands of years. But there were 22,000 that were found in the library, the high priest library, not just the general archive of weddings and marriages and land transactions, but sort of the sacred knowledge that was held at that time. This is at the time of Urshabanipal, probably about 6,000 years ago. And these are the beings that we've come to know of as the gods in history, the Norse gods, the Greek gods, the Roman gods, the Egyptian gods, and they seem to be long-lived, tall, human people, very similar to us, but with a larger brain capacity, as we're going to see, who had a problem with their ozone layer, their atmosphere, just as we have begun to develop holes in our ozone that we've been trying to clear. And they discovered on their planet through their science that if they suspended gold particles in the atmosphere, it would actually block the cosmic rays. And this is something we've actually discovered, that when we put gold foil sheeting on the windows of the astronauts' space vehicles, it does block the radiation of the cosmic rays. And so I'm going to be talking about this in much greater length in the next presentation that I'll be doing on angels and the Anunnaki, because there's a lot to say about the Anunnaki gods, and I know a great deal about it. But these are the beings that we think of as the gods. And certainly one of the things that's very interesting about these Sumerian cuneiform texts is that they believe that the planet that they come from is many, many times the size of ours, perhaps the size of even Jupiter or Saturn. But that this planet has an elliptical orbit, so that it actually every 3,600 years comes close to our sun, and at its apogee, and then at its perigee, it winds up going very far away. So they would have a summer and they would have a winter. And so these are the beings that, according to the Sumerian cuneiform text at least, appear to have seeded the planet probably about 448,000 years ago. So we'll be talking more about them next time.